A guten Tag, and welcome to the 24th episode of the Illiterates podcast, your home for uninformed, unfiltered, ill-advised movie talk. Wow, that was pretty bad starting it off that way, huh?
That's not bad. It's not terrible.
Maybe you could have done a better job since you are German, right?
Yeah, maybe.
It's in your blood, man. It's in your blood.
Sure.
So, as you kind of guessed, we're the crew of Illiterates. Joe's not with us today, so today I will be your host, Nathan Stone, and with us today is Alexander Patton.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
So, Alex, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What can be more fun than making fun of Hitler and Nazis?
I'd say nothing. That's great fun.
How about kicking Hitler out of a window?
That's great. That's even better.
Exactly. So if you hadn't guessed, like satires revolving around the Third Reich is nothing new to Hollywood history. And now Taika Watiti brings his own jab with JOJO Rabbit, a whimsical coming-of-age story about a Hitler youth trying to find out where he fits into this, world of his fellow Nazi comrades. All the while, he's torn between trying to impress his imaginary friend, Adolph Hitler, and winning the trust of Elsa, a Jewish girl hiding in his mother's wall. So Alex and I watched the movie, and we're here to draw comparisons with the film with its other movies that have made fun of Hitler in the past, and see if this movie succeeded, or even if it's necessary to make fun of Nazis anymore.
Yeah.
But before we get into any of that, let's start off by talking on what we've watched this past week, or what we did. So, Alex.
All right. Well,
I was gonna go first this time.
Oh, okay.
Not you.
I think you're telling me, Alex, go ahead. Like Joe always makes me go first anyway.
Well, yeah, but that's Joe.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna be selfish this time and take the
you
spotlight.
Go ahead then. Be my guest.
Okay. Well, with Disney Plus coming out in a few weeks, and Netflix is trying to strategize its upcoming content and how is it going to keep viewers reeled in, I decided to watch the latest season of BoJack Horseman. It's on its 6th season now, so
wow, already.
It's been going for a while. But the creators are doing something interesting with this. They've split it up into 2 sections. So we've only gotten like 8 episodes for this season, but they're going to release it next year in January for the remainder of the season.
Huh.
And I think this is their way of just drawing out the show, because right now this is going to be their last season for BoJack. The writers have already made it very bluntly obvious that they don't want to continue the show after the season. So right now, the vibe I'm getting from the show is it's kind of trying to tie up loose ends. They're coming to an end, so there's nothing new being presented.
Okay.
Which kind of makes it feel like it's a lot of filler episodes. Like there's not a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
The comedy's kind of lacking, but we're seeing growth in the characters. We're seeing some things that are coming to good conclusions. So I'm kind of expecting that. Although maybe a lot of people are going to say, "Man, why is the show sucking now?"
Yeah. I mean that's kind of a problem. Filler episodes are kind of two-sided in that it's a filler episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously not going to be like kind of generally as good as a lot of like the main storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think filler episodes do, and what a lot of people don't really appreciate about them, is that they really do help build characters up. Yeah, it's just they've helped flesh out the characters you're watching a lot more as you kind of get a better understanding of them and everything like that. So I generally, filler episodes in my opinion, aren't terribly bad.
Yeah, and not to say like there's just filler going on in these shows. It's kind of more of just like we don't get as many of the antics that the characters are always like throwing themselves into because they were being stupid or foolish, or they let their addictions get in the way. We're seeing them kind of like changing their habits, and as we kind of know, when that happens, you see a little bit better just decision making going on.
Yeah,
and that's not exciting TV. But I'm kind of seeing it's taking a different turn. I'm kind of liking this turn. I'm going to see where it goes because it left on a cliffhanger. So, but yeah, so that's one thing I watched. The other thing I ended up watching was this Korean film that came out from Bong Joon-ho, the same guy who did Snowpiercer, called Parasite.
Oh, yeah.
And
I heard that's really good.
Yeah, I'm going to try to give a synopsis without giving anything away. So Parasite follows the lives of 2 families, the Kims and the Parks. While the Parks live a life of luxury and in excess, the Kims have to live underneath a basement in the worst part of their town. When their son is given the chance to tutor the eldest daughter of the Park family, he hatches a plan which may get them into a better life. I'm not going to lie. I think this is my favorite movie of 2019.
Oh, wow.
That's bold of me to say it, but I was completely enthralled and just excited about watching this movie.
I've heard that from a couple people, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hitting me with comedy, drama, just social commentary, and just good horror elements as well. Like, I would never assume this guy was excellent at horror, but he manages to wedge it in, and it's brilliant how it's done. But no, if anyone's not seen or heard this movie, I'm going to say I think it's already getting Oscar buzz right now. Like, it's not even like out of theaters yet, but a lot of people are raving about this movie. And I can't stress enough, I think if you guys like situational, like dark comedies, this is a good one to see.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of it I can't really unravel, but there's some good stuff in it. Bong Joon-ho is really kind of just showing he's like a master at his craft, and I've never seen a movie just entertain me so much on both levels so well. So if anyone's not seen or heard of this movie, I highly recommend go check it out.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, now Alex, you may go.
Okay. All right. Well, so in addition to watching JoJo Rabbit this week, we also watched The Lighthouse. We went to see The Lighthouse together.
Yes, we did.
So we're not going to get into it too much right now. We do have an episode that's in the works right now.
Yep, one with Joe.
With Joe as well, yeah. So we're not going to kind of get into it, not spoil too much, savor our thoughts and real interesting takes until the till that episode comes out. But just to give you an idea, for me, I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely weird, definitely out there for sure. But I thought the acting was great, story's interesting. And I to be honest, even with it being as weird as it was, I still found it engaging and enjoyable.
I'm trying to think. You haven't seen much of Roger Eggers' work. You haven't seen The Witch, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I mean, I'm seeing his trademarks now in his style of filmmaking, and I think it's good stuff. I think it still catches people off guard, but I'll admit, when I first saw it, I was confused. I thought it was talking about one thing, and then seeing it again, I was like, okay, it makes a little bit more sense. Still confusing.
Yeah, I can bet.
I mean, this is definitely one of those movies. If you guys are planning on go seeing it, come in prepared, because it's going to hit you with a whole boat of weirdness.
Oh, yeah. It'll mess with your head quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think other than that, I haven't really been watching anything new.
Well, what about anime and YouTube?
I was, again, still nothing new on the anime front. Still gonna watch the latest episode of Fire Force that came out yesterday. But for YouTube, I was watching the what are they in? I think the semifinals now for Worlds, which is the League of Legends World Championship. I myself have never played League. I've just never something I got into. And this is kind of the first time that I'm actually watching the pro scene, but it's so cool. It's interesting. I've watched videos and stuff like that a little bit here and there, so I can at least kind of follow along. I'm still learning, different abilities and whatnot. Like, I finally figured out what flash means, which is like a short teleport for a player that they have on cooldown. So I'm getting there. I think the casters obviously kind of make it more enjoyable, just because they're hyping everything up. So even if you're not completely familiar with exactly what everything does, you can still kind of get a general sense of what's going on and really just get caught up in the moment along with kind of everyone else. You can hear the crowd roaring in the background whenever something happens, or whenever this one champion or another gets away just at the last second. So it's exciting. Last night it was Invictus Gaming and it was FPX. I can't remember exactly what their name stands for. Again, still new to the league, but I fortunately didn't catch the end of that series. I had to go to sleep because they're broadcasting from Madrid. So it was like they started at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So by that time I was like, all right, I watched a game and a half or so, and then I gotta go to sleep.
I know. Yeah, there's so much time you can dedicate to that. All right, Alex, have you watched anything else?
Nah, that's about it. Just playing Destiny still too, though. That's
okay. And you guys are doing pretty good with the rankings on that, you and your friends?
Oh, yeah. The, what was it? The newest dungeon came out the beginning of this week. Beat that. That was fun. So now it's just kind of grinding and playing the Halloween event that's going on up until I think like next week or so. So it's just been doing that, and nothing really new or crazy to note. Just just grinding away, man. That's it.
I'm trying to find a way to stretch this out because this is the shortest time we've ever done one of these segments.
Well, we don't have Joe, who
That is
goes
true.
on for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we just give him a 30 minutes of just all the movies he's watched.
Yeah.
Whereas you and me were just like, yeah, we watched that. We're done.
Yeah,
we have a 2-minute limit.
Yeah, we watched that, and then we watched that, and then we watched that. That's it.
Yeah, not to say we're time Nazis just to be on fitting with the subject, but we kind of we're punctual. We're punctual. All right, well, if that's it, let's get into our main topic for the evening, which is JOJO Rabbit.
Here's Marshal JoJo. You're our top man. Prepare to leave the house.
Today you boys will be involved in such activities as war games, ambush techniques, and blowing stuff up.
I don't think I can do this.
Was? Of course you can.
When I was your age, I had an imaginary friend. Got me in so much trouble.
Kids, it's time to burn some books.
You're growing up too fast. 10-year-olds shouldn't be celebrating war and talking politics.
Heil Hitler. I wish more of our young boys had your blind fanaticism.
So, if anyone's not familiar with Taika Watiti, he's obviously the guy who brought us such interesting, satirical, like lighthearted movies like Hunt of the Wilder People and the best Thor movie to hit the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been given a chance to make a movie about Hitler Youth and kind of a whimsical look at one boy whose name's JoJo as he tries to find his place in the world. And it's kind of a nice coming of age story where he has to make decisions of, does he follow the rest of the crowd of his friends and comrades, or is he going to follow what his mother has always kind of brought him up to live by?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with our initial reactions. Alex, I remember way back, this was one that you were kind of talking about and you wanted us to watch it. So let's start with you first.
I thought it was decent. I wasn't completely enamored with it. I enjoyed it. Like, not to say it's a bad movie at all. And I thought it was fun. The comedy's on point. Everyone acting in it is honestly stellar. But it didn't wow me as much as I kind of had hoped it would. I guess when I started watching it, I was hoping he would spend more time at the camp and it'd be like a fun camp movie.
So you're hoping a lot more like Moonrise Kingdom, kind of like...
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Moonrise Kingdom kind of deal. I was at the start of it, when he goes to the camp, I was hoping for more of that.
Mm-hmm.
A little disappointed that ended pretty quickly, but it was still a fun segment. Overall, though, it was still fine. I wish he kind of interacted more, or the kid JoJo kind of interacted more with the, I guess, outside world, outside of, everyone in his house, and then just the soldiers that, he was working, quote unquote, with.
That's actually something I was kind of thinking about, because you're right. Like, I was kind of hoping or thinking, based on the trailers, we would get a lot more just scenes with him in the Hitler Youth Camp.
Yeah.
And like seeing them do the activities. But that's like only in the first 10 minutes of the movie. And then as soon as that's done, we're kind of taken out and we just follow him in his streets of his German town as he's trying to, meander and figure out, what do I do?
Yeah.
But I think there's a purpose to that. I think like a big part of the movie is choices and the consequences of those choices.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this later in the podcast, but I kind of think it was intentional that he was taken out of the youth camp so early on. First off, we have there's that early scene where he is put on the line to actually, kill a rabbit.
Yeah.
And immediately he is ridiculed by everybody in his camp. So it doesn't even matter if he tries to redeem himself, which he tries. Mm-hmm. He's already been kind of like outsed by everyone in his community there.
Pretty much, yeah.
So it didn't make sense to keep him there. There was no reason to him to try and impress anybody.
I guess. I mean, it might have been nice to just kind of see him stay there and sort of get a bit of like a redemption arc. Mm-hmm. But I guess that wouldn't have really worked out in the end, because the redemption arc that he would have gone on to be able to impress everyone would have been to turn into like a full-fledged Nazi. So probably not the best route to take on that.
Exactly. I think somehow it's kind of like, not to say like, it was kind of like a intended accident that kind of was thrown into the cogs of the story to pull him out of that as early on, because kind of what follows afterwards is we see JoJo kind of start taking on this new path than everyone else in his, peer group kind of went on. Like, we have his best friend, the fat kid with the glasses, who definitely kind of becomes like a working member on the front lines.
Yeah.
But, JoJo, that's all he's wanted. And he's never, ever given a chance to do that. He's just he becomes like demoted to like, what was it? A propaganda poster boy.
Yeah.
And
just an errand boy, essentially. Yeah.
And at one point he becomes like a scrap metal harvester.
Yeah.
That was actually hilarious when he's wearing like that robot outfit.
Yeah, the cardboard robot suit.
And his friend comes and is like, JoJo, and gives him a hug, and it's like so awkward because he's wearing the cardboard.
Yeah.
So like, and that's actually one thing I liked about the movie is that as dark as a subject as it is, like, okay, we're looking at Hitler Youth Nazis who are trying to, pull their weight in the war effort, and especially in just the last few years of the Third Reich before, World War II ended. So we're kind of seeing it from JoJo's perspective of him still trying to impress Hitler. He wants to impress, his Führer. He wants to impress everybody. And I kind of feel like a lot of his decision-making I saw, a lot of the action happens in his own home. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole impress Hitler thing is kind of spurred on mainly because he's got Hitler as an it's not really imaginary. He's got kind of, and Hitler's in his imagination. So, yeah, he's constantly, or Hitler's constantly pressuring JoJo to kind of do all these different things and stuff that he doesn't really always feel comfortable with, especially as it gets later on in the movie. Yeah, and actually, that's something I want to talk about, actually. That's actually one of my favorite parts of the movie is surprisingly Hitler in this. Yeah, he's great.
He's great. Like
Not Hitler.
Not Hitler, not the real person, just how Watiti is playing him.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I think, kind of admirable about Watiti is that he's the director of this. He's the guy who wrote it. He's producing it. And he's brave enough to sprout on the Hitler stash and walk around with a SWAT stick and put on this very convincing persona of Hitler. I mean, he is hamming it up for moments.
Oh, yeah.
But and this is kind of so interesting. I kind of felt myself a little endeared to his character. There came at one point, you see how JoJo perceives his Führer and his imaginary friend.
Yeah.
You see, he's like, okay, JoJo doesn't really have any friends. He doesn't have anyone who's like supporting him except for his mother. But he's looking for some kind of a male role model, a friend to basically, live up to and impress. And he kind of infuses a lot of like this wish fulfillment in his imaginary friend of Hitler.
Yeah.
And then what Titi brings to the table is kind of something new and refreshing, which is, yes, he is bringing, the image of Hitler again to the screen.
Yeah.
But he's doing it in a way where it's like, you can't hate the guy.
He's kind of charming.
He's very charming.
Because, I mean, like, he's not only is he charming in and of himself, but we kind of grow to like him just because he's cheering. Yeah, at the beginning of the film, he's cheering JoJo on.
Yep.
He's, after he gets ridiculed for not killing the rabbit, he's the one who kind of like picks him back up and gets him back on his feet and really kind of gets him back out there.
What was all that about?
They wanted me to kill it. I'm sorry. I couldn't.
Don't worry about it. I couldn't care less.
But now they call me a scared rabbit.
Let them say whatever they want. People used to say a lot of nasty things about me. Oh, this guy's a lunatic. Oh, look at that psycho. He's gonna get us all killed. I'll let you in on a little secret. The rabbit is no coward. The humble little bunny faces a dangerous world every day, hunting carrots for his family, for his country. My empire will be full of all animals. Lions, giraffes, zebras, rhinoceroses, octopuses, rhinoctopuses, even the mighty rabbit.
Yeah, and actually one thing I kind of felt impressive about that is like, yes, it is like this image of Hitler who's telling him like, yes, they call you a rabbit, but think of it. A rabbit is wise and swift and is able to get out of danger. So you're going to live. You're going to survive.
Yeah.
You won't be one of those oxen who are going to charge into battle. No, you are going to live. And it's so interesting that this is all going in JoJo's head. If you think about it, this is just him processing that kind of trauma he went through, which is honestly, you think about it, it's kind of weird for me to say this, him like using Hitler as a way of like coping with a lot of trauma he's going through, but
yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
I mean, the film kind of playfully sets him up as like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
That was actually my
scene.
favorite part. So the opening credits has this wonderful thing where it takes archive footage of Hitler touring all of Germany. And it's grabbing all these like inserts of girls who are like doing the, the hand salute, but they're running to him like, oh, he's like a Beatles or something like that.
Yeah, they have the Beatles playing over it.
I know.
So it sets him up as this like big celebrity.
I know. And it's almost kind of given a side of like, this is how JoJo perceives him, because he has posters of Hitler in his room as if he's like, he's my idol. He's my rock star. I want to live up to him. And it's,
I mean, he's talking to his friend Yorkie. He's like, and Yorkie asks, I thought I was your best friend. He's like, well, you're number 2, because Hitler is number 1.
Yeah, maybe
you're not Hitler, but you're number 2.
Yeah, maybe if you were Hitler in a fat kid's body, perhaps. And he's like, no, I think I'm just a fat kid. Okay, then you're number 2.
Yeah,
poop jokes are always fun. So a lot of critics out there have been talking about this movie and how it's like kind of playing off of like what we've seen in the past and how Hitler's been portrayed in satires and comedies. The big one that everyone's been referencing is Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator, and just how Watiti's like really drawing off a lot of inspiration from that. And the same thing with the producers, where, a big part of the producers is these bumbling idiots who are trying to produce like the worst musical ever, Springtime for Hitler. And the guy that they recruit as Hitler is this very flamboyant and terrible actor who can't sing for beans. And so, like, we kind of see in Hollywood, there's been a history of these moments where, Hitler came to the screen and has been seen in a very comical light.
Yeah.
In the same way, Watiti's kind of doing this, but he's kind of going the extra mile, I think. I think he's trying to kind of show, in a way, how a lot of the youth in Germany were trying to see Hitler.
Yeah.
But also trying to draw it like, this is ridiculous. They're just kids with these fantasies of what Hitler meant to them, but they don't realize what the horrors he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, they were really just fed propaganda from like an early age of, Hitler's this great leader of Germany. Everything he does is right. He's, there's a rumor going around that he only has 1 ball. No, he has 4. It's the line from the movie. And it's just like, so they're hyping him up to be this incredible, amazing person who's does only good for the German people. And in reality, he's literally Hitler. Yeah.
And that was something I took away from this movie that I thought was kind of pretty cool. Every time like we get into talks about with JoJo when he's interacting with the adults and we see them like talking about Hitler or talking about the Jews.
Oh yeah.
The way it's staged, the way it's kind of choreographed, it's almost like kids in a schoolyard kind of like spreading gossip or rumors. Oh, I want to be accepted. I have some information. And it's almost like that's kind of what Titi's trying to do here. Is like, that's what a lot of the Germans at the time were trying to do. It's like they were all part of a big club. Like, oh, we all want to be accepted. Yeah. What rumors have you heard about this? What news have you heard about Hitler for this?
It's like, oh, I heard this. And they're like, oh my gosh, you can't be serious.
So I think this is kind of something interesting. Like maybe I see why what Titi was trying to portray the Hitler he was doing in this is like, he's not trying to, mock him or like empathize with him. He's just trying to show like what he meant to the people. And just how everyone's state of mind was.
Yeah, I guess that as well. But I think he also kind of might have been sort of mocking the people who followed him.
Oh, yeah.
Who just blindly believe every random rumor and fake story that they heard about him or the Jews and how the Jews are these crazy evil monsters with horns. And they smell like Brussels sprouts, apparently.
But that kind of changes. And I think there's a big reason why I kind of like how JoJo is immediately taken out of the camp. As we did. Yeah. And a lot of then it takes places at his home, really, like in his bedroom. And actually not really his bedroom, but the movie establishes that he had an elder sister who died.
Yes.
And there's a Jewish girl who's hiding. If you haven't seen the trailers, it's kind of given away that this Jewish girl, whose name's Elsa in the movie, is hiding in her best friend's room. We find out, oh, they were best friends before, Hitler came to power.
Yep.
And it's kind of interesting how a lot of just the drama, a lot of the character building on JoJo's part goes down in that room.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much all most of the like very important stuff is just in that room. All the dialogue, all the character building, that room. Yeah. And
just like the character building in that is very interesting because when he's first introduced to Elsa's character, he sees her as like, I should fear you because you're like an alien. And
Yeah.
actually, the first, when we're introduced to her, and it's almost shot like a horror film, and he comes across her,
Yeah.
and he just scurries out of there.
Yeah.
It's very much shot the same way where we're trying to show like, oh, he sees her as like a monster. And then as we go on, he's trying to write a book about like, tell me everything you know about the Jews.
Yeah. I mean, the film portrays her in the way that JoJo sees her. Because he sees her at the beginning when he first meets her as this horrible monster that's going to take control and mind control him. And then as the film progresses and JoJo kind of learns who she really is and whatnot, it portrays her more and more and more, of course, as a person. It's not using some creepy angles, crawling up into the rafters and whatnot, but just more kind of humane shots.
And also there's a way that they're communicating with each other, which I thought was interesting. Because I guess like early on, Elsa kind of like tries to assert her dominance over JoJo. It's like, I'm stronger, you're weaker.
Yeah, she took his knife, and so she's the one who kind of holding the power.
And then there's a tactic that JoJo finds out. He finds out, oh, she had a fiance. And I'm going to use that in writing love letters. Like, I received these love letters from your fiance, who surprisingly would mail them here without getting my mom and you endangered.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't really think that one through. But
of course not. He's 10.
No, but then he's like using this as a way of like communicating to her and really getting to her.
Yeah.
Like there's early on where he writes a very discreet kind of like offensive letter, like, oh, Nathan wrote this letter and he says he doesn't want to marry you. And then immediately when he sees like the hurt he caused her, he writes another letter. It's like, hey, this is Nathan again. I do want to still marry you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you can see this is his way of like saying, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
Kind of what I was saying, like how we're seeing Elsa in the way that JoJo sees her, you know, that does change throughout the movie. When he sees her, she's a monster, and then after he writes the letter, he sees that she's actually hurt, and he sees her more as a human with actual human emotions, and so he kind of changes his, I guess, tactic. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he still uses the same way of communicating with her.
Yeah,
because I think obviously he's a kid and he doesn't want to admit like, you know, these are my feelings for you, so this is my way of vehicling or channeling that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a nice, clever way. And I think I haven't read the book that this movie is based off of, Caging Skies, but more or less that's the same thing that was used in it.
Oh, yeah.
But kind of going back to like how a lot of the drama falls in the bedroom there's a scene that happens towards the very end where these inspectors come to investigate.
Yeah.
And the biggest scene I remember feeling the most tension for was in that room.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to give it away, but like we bring all these characters into there and we realize, wow, one thing could make or break this scene. And the way it was handled was like, it was done very well because they're trying to cover each other's tails, but at the same time, some truths are being revealed where, oh, JoJo didn't want this to get out, but it did. And yeah, it's played for comedy, it's played for tension, it's played for drama. It's like there's a lot of stuff going on in that scene.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, you know, you can cut the tension with a knife for that scene, but there's still a few good laughs in it actually as well. So,
oh yeah.
But even then, it doesn't really take away from, you know, what's actually happening. But yeah, that scene was kind of the culmination of really like everything leading up in that room, just to that scene. And it's done.
And then it's done.
Yep.
Well, kind of after that, we kind of see a change in the movie. It goes less from like, you know, it being kind of like comedy and situational to we kind of start witnessing the horrors of this war. We kind of see like what befalls in this town, what happens to JoJo. You kind of go in thinking, oh, this is going to be a very lighthearted, you know, tale, but it then hits a lot of emotion towards the very end. And I think as I was kind of sitting there, I was like, okay, this could either make or break the audience. Like this could be something like they could see it coming a mile away, or they get so endeared to JoJo and his journey that when this hits them, you can feel it. And I don't know, I want to ask you, Alex, did that kind of impacted you the way that it probably did for the rest of us?
Not really.
Okay.
It didn't hit me as hard. And it's not because I saw it coming, because to be honest, I didn't really see it coming. But yeah, it just didn't hit me as hard as it probably should have. And I kind of realized that watching it too. I was just like, oh shit, we're at this kind of scene.
Yep.
All right. But it just didn't work as well.
Yeah.
I think it kind of just jumped into it real quick, and there wasn't a whole lot of lead up, and maybe kind of like one mention of it here of, you know, that might clue you in. But other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot else.
Yeah. I think at that point, it kind of became a bit of a weird mishmash of like dabbling back and forth between humor just to keep the scenes lighthearted.
Yeah.
And it just being kind of just horrific.
Yeah.
Especially like at the climax when the city's kind of falling to the Russians and the Americans. They kind of were doing that constantly. Like they were trying to throw in, here's a gag and here's something horrible. And here's another gag and here's something horrible.
Yeah.
And it became a point where I was like, I feel like it should have just stuck with one thing.
I agree. Yeah. For me, I personally would have liked to see him just go more into the comedy aspect of it.
Which, to be honest, there was some comedy in that.
But I mean, go full-fledged into it.
Yeah.
Rather than like, here's a joke. Now look, someone's dying on the street.
Yeah.
It's
which
just like,
it kind of, but there was like this one gag in it, which it kind of surprised me. I think both you and me where, you know, Rebel Wilson's character is gathering up all the Hitler youth to kind of beat the last infantry to kind of like go out there and serve your country.
Yeah.
And she's like, ties a hand grenade to this kid and says, oh, wait, well, you're going to see American. You're going to run up to him and give him a hug. And you realize like, oh my gosh, you made a bomb out of this kid.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's horrifying at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess that kind of stuff worked, but
Yeah.
throughout the rest of the movie, it kind of did this weird balance of like, you know, trying to keep it lighthearted, try to keep it heavy. And I kind of feel like it should have kind of gone in the heavy direction because you think of JoJo and what he kind of went through after the end of the second act.
Yeah.
And what that meant for his loss. And it's like, you really should have just held on to that. Don't make lighthearted of a situation, especially after that point. But I think they just had to, just because in a way, it's kind of the message of the movie. It's like, you know, when the world it hits you like that, just keep dancing.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. I kind of think about it more now. It would have been nice to see it go in more of a more serious tone. It definitely would have left more of an impact, I think. Because it's not only just that scene and just the general chaos of, you know, the Americans and the Russians invading Germany and just completely decimating their troops. You know, there is the scene of one of the other main characters in the film kind of not naming the character, but kind of getting into spoilers, essentially giving up his own life for JoJo's safety. And that again just didn't really strike me as much.
Okay.
It was a good scene and I really liked it, and you know, it was perfect for kind of what I wanted for that character and what I wanted for JoJo. But it wasn't that much of an emotional bomb as I think it could have been.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that was the way this movie's handled. Like, you know, you're dealing with a huge cast of like children in this, and it's like you cannot let them kind of go through as much of like the horrible stuff that was kind of going on screen. Like the fact that, you know, they kind of just shot this with certain windows that they could like show, okay, JoJo's running through the streets while they're being attacked and you're seeing this much of the war. But it's like, I think with, you know, some of these characters that he interacts with at the very end, there's a lot of more story that's going behind the scenes that we don't never ever get to see. And I think the reason why it kept it so limited or you didn't see what happens on screen is because, one, keeping the kid actors away from, you know, experiencing something that on screen. But two, also kind of like to show you have to retain some innocence in JoJo. You have to retain some of the innocence in the audience to realize, yeah, you can connect the dots. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's the reason, like, why there's not so much of an emotional impact. I think for me, a big reason why there wasn't an emotional impact is I kind of seen that already in a movie called Life is Beautiful, which is another, you know, movie that I think this movie draws a lot of inspiration from. And that might be already a dead giveaway. I think I just spoiled it for what that scene is. But yeah, we'll have to see if we can axe that out. But you're right. It's, I think, like, there are those emotional beats, but because they're trying to crop it, for lack of a better word, you don't get as much as the on-screen, you know, impact.
True.
A lot of it derives from JoJo as the actor kind of pulling that off, which I'm going to give the kid props. He did a pretty good job for being a 10-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah. He was good. I liked him.
Why does everyone keep telling me that?
Who else tells you that?
Everyone? Anyway, it's a stupid idea.
You're stupid. Love is the strongest thing in the world.
I think you find that metal is the strongest thing in the world, followed closely by dynamite and then muscles. Besides, I wouldn't even know it if I saw it.
Oh, Jojo. You'll know when it happens. You'll feel it. It's a pain.
My ass, I bet.
In your tummy. Like you're full of butterflies.
Yuck.
Yeah, yuck.
I want to go into talking about this other thing that the movie explores. So if anyone's kind of watched this movie or has seen the movie or seen the trailers, you see a big factor of it is acceptance and choices that you make. You know, JoJo, obviously, he wants to be accepted by his fellow comrades. And so a lot of his choices early on are based around that. Towards the very end, he comes torn of like, okay, what choice should I make? Because there are consequences with it. There's this fear of like, you know, I can make this decision and then I can hide away at home and be okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, when, you know, the war comes into your home and the choices or decisions you make have consequences,
Yeah.
that becomes huge. You know, everyone else is following the rest of the group.
Yeah.
But he's kind of then left to his own decision of like, what should I do in this? And he's in a tough position. He's on the fence.
Yeah.
So do you think like this movie's saying something about that, about when we're presented with that? That they're not going to be easy decisions to make.
Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of during that time. That's what everyone was following the group. There was he was following the group for a good part of the movie too. He had the posters up. He was, you know, talking to his imaginary best friend Hitler, and he was completely sold on it. But then yeah, after a little while, he kind of realized that, you know, following the group may not be the best option just because everyone's caught up in it and everyone's doing it. And you kind of really need to think critically for yourself and consider, you know, what you think is right. And that's what he did, and was given the chance to, especially and having to deal with Elsa being you know, in his room.
Yeah, no, I think that was actually a big thing that the whole movie was trying to do is, you know, he's put so much investment in him trying to impress the Fuhrer. And then towards the very end, it's changed. We see what he's kind of gone through, what he thought the Third Reich was going to promise him, and it hasn't. And really him just trying to hold on to something tangible at that point.
Yeah.
And I think he finds that, or at least the ones who are around him who knows, hey, you need this. They give it to him.
Yeah.
In subtle ways, in ways that maybe he doesn't understand at the point at that time. But it's, I think, a big reason why he's kind of the reason why, you know, he gets as far into the movie as he has.
Yeah.
But we're getting into some heavy territory right here. Were there any other things you wanted to talk about with JoJo Rabbit? Like,
I think one of the things I noticed when watching it, and I think one of the things that you noticed as well in watching it, was this looked like a Wes Anderson movie, honestly.
Yeah, I know it
really
did.
did.
The soundtrack, kind of like the color palette that we're going with.
Oh yeah, the color palette, absolutely.
But even more so, some of the shot setups. Like I was noticing the whole crane kind of tracking shots that are happening.
Yeah.
There's one shot in particular, I think when JoJo's like on the front lines and he's, you know, running and he goes and crawls down into this crawl space.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's totally Wes Anderson right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just the camera just tracks him and just like, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the color palette, there's the clothes that they wear. It totally looks like it would be a Wes Anderson movie.
Which kind of makes me wonder what a Wes Anderson Nazi film would have looked like. It was kind of my first impression when I saw it. It's like, oh, is this Wes Anderson?
One other thing that I wanted to mention is I kind of wish they used the film's title a little bit more.
Oh, JoJo Rabbit?
Rabbit. Yeah. I wish they had kind of talked about that a little bit more, because it was a big moment in the beginning of the film. You know, he was JoJo Rabbit. He was going to outsmart everyone else, and he's going to live.
Which kind of does happen. I mean, it's not saying it does not live up to that, but
it does. But like, the rabbit part is never brought up again. I kind of wish they had mentioned that or brought it.
Not necessarily. I kind of actually think it did. So, okay, so this is another spoiler. At the very end of the movie, JoJo is left with no one.
Yeah.
And he is left with Elsa. And there's a wonderful, interesting scene that happens where he comes back to the bedroom and she's hiding in the wall and she says, JoJo, what's going on? Is the war over? And he says, yeah, we won, but you have to stay. And he's flipping through his book he made. And there's that one picture he comes across with him with a rabbit in a cage. And I realize now,
that's right.
okay, so that's a rabbit, but it's a different transformation of what that imagery now is.
Yeah.
And what I think it becomes now is it's JoJo trying to lock away his innocence or basically his life. It's like, I want to keep something in my life still. And he's kind of treating Elsa in that way.
Yeah.
So it's like either I can keep it locked up like this or I can let it free and see if it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very interesting thing with the whole JoJo rabbit imagery. Like, a rabbit is going to, as Hitler puts in the movie, a rabbit is fierce because he runs and he survives.
Yeah.
I guess what JoJo's wondering is, if I let it run, is it going to come back? And I think that's what he was treating like Elsa. It's like, am I going to keep that one thing of love in my life caged still? Or am I going to let that flourish?
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole message at the end is everything he's gone through, he has the choice now to either keep it bottled up and not let it out again or to share it with the world. And I think he makes the right decision in the end.
Yeah.
Evidently. And I think that's where the whole imagery of rabbit comes back into the picture.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so closing thoughts. I kind of like the movie. Obviously, it hits the right kind of tone of, whimsical, lighthearted drama and comedy. I mean, towards the very end, I kind of felt like there was like a weird mishmash of trying to light heart in a very serious mood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think with a lot of critics, they'll kind of say, oh, this is ripping off of, everything we've seen from the producers to The Great Dictator.
Yeah.
But I disagree. I actually think Taika Watiti, what he's doing in this is he's bringing something new to the table. Obviously building off of like what we've seen in the past, but I think he's bringing a nice coming of age story about some kid who doesn't recognize evil at first and then begins to slowly understand this is what evil really is. It's not so much of what I perceived it to be and what I was told, but this is the actual face of it. And what is love then? What is something I should live up to? So I think it tells a good story of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's still something like, even if people are tired of seeing Nazis and Hitler being made fun of on screen, it's just like, give this a shot.
Yeah, I agree. Give it a shot. I enjoyed it. It wasn't something I was completely enamored with, but it was enjoyable while I watched it. There was never really a dull moment or a time where I was kind of felt like it was dragging on. But it didn't hit as emotionally hard as I could have, maybe would have hoped it had. But it does hit those beats. It is still, it's fun. The humor is there. It's great. Watiti is fantastic as Hitler. I think he's a standout, of course, of the film. So yeah, all in all, it's fun. It's lighthearted. It's easygoing. It's enjoyable. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's something you definitely need to see on the big screen. So you can definitely wait until it comes out on streaming or DVD and find it there. But if you're bored, I'd say definitely watch it. Why not?
So does this make you want to, for the next Halloween, try to don on the whole Hitler?
No, definitely not. I'm not going to do that.
But
no.
Watiti, he did it so much fun. Come on.
Yeah, but he's in a movie. I'm not going to go walking around as Hitler on the streets, man.
Oh, man, I wonder what been on set because, Watiti had some balls. He had some fourth ball going on there to try and pull that off.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
I can imagine him just joking around on set all the time. That would have been fun to be around.
Do you want to know why my pants are so big? It's so I can basically fit all my balls in here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps up our, take on JoJo Rabbit. So I guess next week or the following week, we're going to try to do that review of The Lighthouse because we have a lot to, unravel with that one.
There's a lot to unpack with that movie. Oh my gosh.
And I know we're waiting for Joe to finally see it. So once he's kind of set up a time, we'll get that recorded, but that should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
So Alex, where can people find you?
All right. Well, you can check out a lot of the old, not only Film Illiterates episodes of Joe and I, but we've got a good number of podcasts in our back catalog as well now, so you can find that all on filmilliterates.com. If you want to find out, kind of follow along with what I'm listening to, I'm on Rate Your Music at Half Scrim. Same thing on my anime list, and Letterboxd. So you can find everything I'm checking out there.
Sweet. And you can find me on here at filmilliterates.com. I do these podcasts and videos with these two guys. I also am on Instagram under Nathan_Stone_films, as well as Starlord_rules. But yeah, and for future, if you guys want to check out the website, it's www.filmilliterates.com. You can also check on the Facebook, as well as Twitter. And if you're interested in what Joe's watching, he's at letterbox.com/filmilliterates. So you can check out what he's been watching. But yeah, that concludes everything. So everyone, keep watching movies and take it easy.
Keep it easy, as Joe said.